Hey everybody. I'm going to redo our social studies lesson that we did yesterday. Well, we were supposed to be able to do. So I went and made some new copies. Put them in my book, and I'm going to start over. So I'm very sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Let's go ahead and head over to our camera. Okay. Put it over here. All right, so put this back in there, okay? All right, so all right, so we talked about read the text, answer the questions. So it says they've got a little diagram here. It talks about traditional, command, market, and mixed. And then we're going to be answering some questions about it. All right. So let's look at our questions real quick so that it's in our mind while we're reading it. In one economy, people have very little choice. Which one? In traditional, command, market, or mixed? Okay. Which statement tells you about a traditional system? And based on the text, which economy are you a part of and how do you know? So this is going to be talking about the different kinds of economies there are. Traditional. People do things the way their parents or grandparents did. People farm, hunt, and fish. They barter instead of using money. So they trade things instead of using money. The command kind of economy, the government makes all of the decisions. The government owns the resources. There is no competition. People do not have a lot of choices with goods and services. So that would be the command kind of economy. The market kind of economy is where people make their own decisions. They sell goods and services. They compete. They make a profit. The people own the resources. And then in a mixed economy, the people make some decisions. The government makes some decisions. The government makes rules for goods and services. The people own the resources. So in one economy, people have very little choice. Which one is it? Okay, is it traditional, command, market, or mixed? I think it is command, and here's why. The government makes all the decisions, not the people. So that would be a command kind of economy. Number 2, which statement tells you about a traditional system? The government makes rules for goods and services. The people compete and they make a profit. The government owns the resources. Or D, the people barter instead of using money. So when we looked at traditional, remember it said they barter instead of using money. So D. Right. Number 3, based on the text, which economy are you a part of? How do you know? So which economy would you say you are a part of? Are you part of traditional, command, market, or mixed economy? Okay. I would say we are in a mixed. Just my opinion. So you can write what you think. I think we are part of a mixed economy because the government does have some say, and so do the people. Because the people and the government decide on rules to goods and services. Okay? That's my opinion. It's just because we have some rules we have to follow, and then the people make up some of their own decisions. The people own the resources, but they work together to make up the rules of how it's going to go. All right, if you need some more time, to get that written down, go ahead and push pause so that I don't move on without you. Okay. Let's go to the next page. Read the text and study the image. Answer the questions. All right. So we'll start here. Economy, competition, market, trade, buyer, seller, and good. Okay. So it says, what is a market? So we need to be paying attention to that. And what causes competition? Excuse me, right down here. What causes competition in a market? Okay. So let's start with economy. Economy, a system where goods and services are made, sold, and bought. That's what the economy is. It's like you make things, you sell things, you buy things. It's just how the flow works. Competition. More than one seller sells the same good or service. And the reason that's a good thing, competition is a good thing, because it can help control the price so that it doesn't go crazy. Plus, people can have a different degree of how nice the service is or how nice the goods are. And so there's a little bit more room for choice in there. Market, when producers or sellers sell and consumers or buyers buy. So we all live in a market where people are making things to sell and we are buying things to have. Trade, an exchange between a buyer and a seller. So you may say, I don't really have the money to buy this new game, but if I talk to my friend who really wants the game I want, maybe we can make a little trade. Maybe it's just a temporary trade, or maybe it's a permanent trade. Buyer, a person who buys a good or service from a seller. So you spend money. That's what makes you a buyer. And you're not trading anymore. Now you're spending money. A seller is a person who sells a good or service to a buyer. You got to have these two in a relationship there if that's going to happen. And then good, a product or item that is sold. So lots of goods that are sold all the time. All right. What is a market? Is it when a buyer sells and a seller buys? Is it when a seller does not sell a good? Is it a trade where a seller sells and a buyer buys? Or is it when a person goes shopping but does not buy? Okay, so what is a market? Remember up here at the top it says when producers or sellers sell and consumers or buyers buy. Okay, so when a buyer sells and a seller buys? Or is it when a seller does not sell? A trade where a seller sells and a buyer buys? When a person goes shopping but does not buy? What do you think? So I think we're going to be better off right here with this one when it's a trade-off between the seller selling and the buyer buying. So they're still exchanging money and trading for one thing for the other. So the seller is giving a product and the buyer is giving them money. Number 2, what causes competition in a market? Okay, so back at the top, what causes competition in a market? Okay, so there is only one seller who sells a good or service. There is more than one seller of a good or service. There is only one seller who sells a service. There is a buyer who does not buy. Okay, so a competition market is more than one seller. B. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to turn the page here. We're going to do this one. We're reading the text and answering the question. So it says, what is bartering? And tell about something you have bartered. Was it a fair trade? Why or why not? So we're going to be talking about bartering in this story. It says, a long time ago, money had not yet been invented. People would barter to get goods or services. They would trade a good or a service for another one. They did not use money. Today, some people still barter. If you trade baseball cards with your friend, this is bartering. Some people trade houses when they go on vacation. This is bartering too. There can be problems with bartering. You might get something that does not work. You might trade away something that is worth more than what you get. So if like you wanted something and you traded like your grandfather's medals from when he was younger for some baseball cards, would that be a fair trade? No, probably not a good idea to trade those kinds of things. Okay, money is much easier to use. You can pay exactly what a good or service is worth. It is easy to carry with you. It is easy to keep in a bank, and you can use a bank card or a credit card in place of money. So what is bartering? Bartering is when you buy a good or service, when you pay for a good or service with money, when you take a good or service but you do not pay, or you trade a good or service for one another. Okay, so what is bartering? Okay, so it says here they would trade a good or service for another. So D. Shows it right here. The show text evidence, it's right there. Okay. 1 second here. Okay, guys, let me get back into the camera real quick. Okay, so it says, tell about something you have bartered. Was it a fair trade? Why or why not? So, let me think. About a time I have bartered. Was it a fair trade? Why or why not? I can think of a time. Okay. I had a group of 4 friends. Oops. And we would barter for different books. So we didn't all have to buy all of them. Okay. I think it was a fair trade. Okay. I had a group of 4 friends, and we would barter for different books. So we didn't all have to buy all of them. I think it was a fair trade. So like I might have a book and I read the whole thing. Now I'm done with it, but my friend hasn't read it, but she had a book that I wanted to read. So we would trade. And then when she was done reading my book, she didn't give it back to me. She would give it to one of our other friends because there was 4 of us. So we would just keep trading so that everybody got to read the same books if they wanted to. So I thought that was a fair trade. It's pretty fun too. All right, let's stop there. We'll finish up the other ones next week probably, okay? So let's head over. I think we're finished in geography, aren't we? Yes, we're finished in geography. So let's head over to science. And Elijah, I know that you're not finished in geography. And you're welcome to, look at our pages and get those filled in if you wanted to, or work on them on your own if you want to. But you weren't here yet, so I'm not requiring you to do that, so just so you know. All right, we are going to be on page 23 in the science section of our book. All right. And we are going to read this article at the top, and then we're going to answer these questions. So let's look at the questions that we have. We have explain how animals help the jumping Choya reproduce? And then the next one is, a porcupine is an animal that has sharp needles called quills on its body. How do you think a porcupine's quills might be similar to a cactus's spines? And then, true or false? A cactus's spines are sharp like needles. A cactus uses its spines to attract animals. True or false? Okay. All right. Spines do more than help a cactus survive in desert conditions. They protect the cactus from animals looking for a juicy meal. The spines break off easily and will stick in an animal's mouth if it tries to eat the cactus. Some spines also help the cactus reproduce. For example, the jumping choya, it gave me some help there. The jumping choya breaks apart easily when an animal brushes against it. The spines make the broken off pieces stick to the passing animal. When the cactus piece finally drops off, it grows roots and becomes a new plant. Okay, so that's interesting. Just because it catches on something, then when it drops, it grows a whole new plant. All right, letter A. Explain how animals help the jumping choya reproduce. I get why they call it the jumping choya because it sounds to me like it easily brushes off against an animal, falls off, and starts growing a new one. All right. Let's see here. Make the broken off pieces stick. Okay. The jumping choya breaks apart easily when an animal brushes against it. So when an animal brushes against the choya, straight right here, choya, comma, the spines stick and then drop off in a new spot so that it can grow a new plant. So that's why how it spreads. That's how it gets itself all over the place. Okay, go ahead and write your answer down. Okay, the next one. A porcupine is an animal that has sharp needles called quills on its body. How do you think a porcupine's quills might be similar to a cactus's spines? So how would that be similar? All right, so a porcupine, pine's quills are like the let me see if I'm spelling that right, Choya. spine because they can release from the host. And what I mean by host is like the cactus is either the host or the animal is the host, and stick to something else. Okay, so I will say though that when a quill goes into something, it stays there. It's like it has a barb, like it goes in like this, but then it hooks, so you can't pull it back out. It's very painful. So it doesn't sound like the Choya does that necessarily. It just kind of sticks and then falls off. Maybe it does. Maybe it sticks into the animal and it hurts. And then when the animal, uses its leg to scratch it off, maybe then that's when it falls. I'm not sure, but we'd need more information, wouldn't we? Okay. True or false? A cactus's spines are sharp like needles. Well, did it say that up here? Okay. Sounds like they are. True. A cactus uses its spines to attract animals. No, that didn't say that. They aren't attracted to the spines. It's just something that happens to the spines. Okay, I'm going to go to the next page. Realize that maybe I just need you a second to make sure you have everything here. So go ahead and pause that if you need to. Okay, we're going to turn here to this page. Okay, got one more. All right, sorry about that, guys. It's a noise on the roof, so I wanted to make sure things were good. Okay. Why does a cactus have needles? Spines aren't the only adaptation a cactus has for surviving in the desert. Some cacti have folds that can swell and store hundreds of gallons of water. Their roots are shallow and spread far from the plant. The roots are ready to drink up even the smallest amount of rain. The thick, waxy skin of the cactus keeps the water inside from evaporating. So it says, draw a line to match how each adaptation helps the cactus survive in the desert. Okay, so here's the adaptations. Folds that swell and store water, shallow roots that absorb rain quickly, thick skin that protects the cactus. And we're going to go to the desert condition. Heat that causes water to quickly evaporate after it lands. A lot of sunlight without shade. Long periods of time without rain. So, folds that swell and store water. Okay, what do you think that would be? Heat that causes water to quickly evaporate after it lands. A lot of sunlight without shade. Long periods of time without rain. Let's go back up here and look about those roots for sure too. The roots are ready to drink up even the smallest amount of rain. So heat that causes water to quickly evaporate long periods of time without rain. I would say that goes there. Thick skin that protects the cactus. Lots of sunlight without shade. So we got to be able to protect it. And then this stores the water because it evaporates quickly after it lands. Okay. Look at the diagram. Label the folds, the roots, and the flower. Okay, so that's going to be pretty easy to do. The first one, flower. And the second one, roots. And so obviously these are the folds. Okay, if you need more time, go ahead and push pause. And we're going to go to the last one we're going to do today, which is on page 25. Why does a cactus have needles? Describe 2 jobs that a cactus's spines can do to help the cactus survive in the desert. All right, so when we look back on things that the cactus's spines do to help the cactus survive, let's go back here and see. Spines aren't the only adaptation. Okay. Spines do more than help a cactus survive in the desert conditions. They protect the cactus from animals looking for a juicy meal. And some spines help the cactus reproduce. Let's look at this one. The needles on a cactus called spines are actually a kind of leaf. It's an adaptation of a regular leaf to help the cactus survive in the desert. Just as there is different kinds of leaves, there are different kinds of cactus spines. Some help the cactus collect rain. These long spines direct water to the cactus's roots. Others grow thickly over the cactus, and they protect it from the sun and help keep the cactus from drying out. All right, so we've got lots of things we could write here. Describe 2 jobs that a cactus's spine can do to help the cactus survive in the desert. Okay. Cactus spines can protect the cactus from hot sun, and they can also collect water. You could put that down, okay, that's what we're going to put. Cactus spines can help direct water to the inside of the cactus. Okay? Let me get over here so you can see the whole thing. Okay, go ahead and press pause if you need to get it copied down. All right. B, use the words in the box to complete the paragraphs. We have the word evaporate, survive, folds, and spines. A cactus is adapted to blank in a hot, dry desert. Is it a cactus adapted to evaporate, to survive, to folds, to spines? I think what makes the most sense is cactus is adapted to survive in a hot, dry desert. It stores up water and uses the water slowly. The thick, waxy skin of the cactus helps make sure that the water doesn't evaporate. Remember we read that? So it holds that in. Okay, so we have survive and evaporate. Sharp, blank, protect the plant. Sharp spines, right? They also help it collect water. The folds of the cactus allow it to store as much water as possible. Okay, so we used all of those. Okay, so which analogy is correct? Check the box next to it. So when they mean analogy, they mean like, foot is to person as paw is to animal. So that kind of thing. Spines are to cactuses as flowers are to plants. Spines are to cactus as roots are to plants. Spines are to cactus as leaves are to plants. Which ones could be correct? Spines are to cactus as flowers are to plants. So they attract things, because flowers, remember we read before that their job is to attract like other animals to come dust it and get that pollen to go to other plants. Do they have anything to do with the roots? Are the spines anything to do with the roots? Spines are to cactuses as leaves are to plants. It said that they are considered the leaf of the plant. So we're going to mark this one right here. Alrighty. Well, guys, we're all finished. I went a little slower this time than I did on the one that you were supposed to see yesterday. So we have all of that finished. Next week, we can work on why do birds migrate. So, all right. Thank you for working on your social studies and science notebook. I'm going to come back and talk to your face so that we can see you. All right, guys, good job. Thank you for working so hard. We're going to go ahead and put that away, and you're all finished for the day. So this will be your last task for today. If you haven't finished your other things, of course, you can go back to those. You don't have to do them in a certain order, but if you want to, you can. All right, guys, thank you.